All right, this video is going over what I would do if I needed to stop a foreclosure auction within 48 hours. So if I was in a situation where my home was going to be sold at foreclosure auction, maybe even tax sale, specifically foreclosure, and the auction was within the next day or two, these are the steps that I would take personally. Now, again, disclaimer, none of this should be construed as legal advice. I'm not an attorney. I am simply sharing my opinion for educational purposes only. You are responsible for your actions and any consequences of your actions if you decide to use any of this knowledge for your own purposes. But this is simply my opinion. This is not legal advice. So take it for what it's worth. Now, another disclaimer. If I'm in foreclosure, bankruptcy is not a long-term solution for me. It just simply isn't. Just because somebody files a bankruptcy does not mean that the foreclosure magically goes away and that I would get to keep my house. That is not how it works. Bankruptcy is simply a way to buy more time to work out a better long-term solution. Solutions such as reinstating the loan, refinancing to pay off the loan, either with a bank or with someone, a private lender, private individual or private institution, paying off the loan completely. Forbearance or a forecast is just putting the delinquent payments on the back end of the loan and then reinstating it. Could also do a loan modification where you lower the monthly mortgage payment. You could sell the house with, a clause to be able to buy the house back within a certain amount of time. That's always an option. Or you could just sell and move. These are just other long-term solutions. Bankruptcy is not a long-term solution. It can only be used to buy time to find another long-term solution, if that makes sense. Bankruptcy should be a last resort. Should only be used when there are no other options. And the longer you wait and the closer that auction date gets, the less options you have. The sooner you act, the more options you have. As soon as you know there's a potential to go into foreclosure, please start working on options. But if you've got no time left, then this is a last resort, a Hail Mary pass, so to speak. Okay, so with that being said, here are some of the steps I would take if I was in danger of losing my home. Number one, I would find out, okay, what bankruptcy court has jurisdiction over my county? Okay, very simple. What I would do is I would just go to Google, okay, and I just do a search. Okay, so let's just go to Google and let's just say I'm just going to make up a random county. Let's say I live in, I don't know, Wilson County. Okay, Wilson County, Tennessee. I'm going to type in Wilson County, Tennessee, bankruptcy court. Hit search. And what looks to pop up is the Middle District of Tennessee, United States Bankruptcy Court. Bankruptcy court is federal court. Okay, it's not county. It's going to be probably a separate building from your county courthouse. And it looks like if I lived in Middle County, I'd have to file in Middle District, and here's their court locations. So important to know that. Once I found that out, okay, I would go and I would fill out the proper forms to file a bankruptcy. Okay. Now, what are those forms? First one that I would fill out is Form B-101. Okay. And here's what it looks like. Form B-101 is a voluntary petition for individuals filing bankruptcy. Just fill in you just go through this, fill out the information. Okay, answer the questions and just fill it out completely. If it was me, what I would do is I would check Chapter 13 if it was me, because a Chapter 13 is a restructuring of your debts and putting you on a payment plan to pay off everything. A Chapter 7 is also very common, but a Chapter 7 is to liquidate or sell all of your assets to pay off your debts. Okay, so I would choose a 13 over a 7, but that is just me personally. So I would fill out this form completely. Okay. And then there is also another form, which would be a form B-121, just about my social security, verifying my identity, things like that. I'd fill those two forms out. And then if I didn't, there will be a fee. I will have to pay a fee, a filing fee at the courthouse. If I don't have all the funds to pay the filing fee all in one lump sum, I can also file a form 103A, which allows me to break up the filing fee in installments. So I would also do that as well. And the clerk at the courthouse can help with that. So I would fill those forms out. Then I would go down to the courthouse that I found that covers my county. Okay. I would file these forms, pay the appropriate filing fee. Then I would get a copy of what is called the Notice of Bankruptcy Case Filing. Okay. A notice of bankruptcy case filing looks something like this. Okay, it's basically just it's exactly what it sounds like. It's a notice that so-and-so has filed, whatever, this bankruptcy at this date, at this time. They'll assign the bankruptcy a trustee. Okay, that's an attorney who oversees the bankruptcy cases. They'll assign it to a judge. So it looks something like this. Okay, they'll stamp it, filed it with the date. So I would get a copy of that. And once I had a copy of the notice of bankruptcy case filing, I would take that copy and I would email that copy. I would fax that copy. If I had the funds, I would also mail it, certified return receipt. And I would send that copy to the law firm that's handling my foreclosure case, or also file it with the court that's handling my foreclosure case, depending on whatever state I live in. If my foreclosure is being handled by a law firm on behalf of a bank, that's called a trustee. I would send that notice to the trustee. If there's a court case associated with it, then I would go to the other court, wherever my foreclosure case is being held, and I would file that with my foreclosure case, which I would probably have the case number for that. Then I would contact the court or the trustee and confirm the auction was postponed. And that is the steps I would take to delay an auction date. Okay. Once that was done, I would get to work immediately finding a long-term solution, whether it's a refinance. Now, a refinance with a traditional bank is probably going to be out of the question. Could probably only do it with a private lender or private institution. A reinstatement, that is just paying off the delinquent amount and then continuing to make payments on the loan. A recast is where they take the delinquent payments and they put them on the back end of the loan, and you just pay them off at the end of the loan. There's a loan modification, which is a very lengthy process, and the banks do not have to grant a loan modification if one is applied for, but it is certainly an option where you can lower your monthly payment. If you have some way to pay off the loan, that would be great. Or you could always sell the property with what is called a purchase back agreement. That would allow you to basically sell, but to continue to live as a tenant in the property. And you could work out an agreement where if you made X amount of payments over a certain amount of time, you could then get the property back. That's always an option as well, because if I was living in a home, I probably don't want to move. I probably don't want to leave that home. So selling is probably not what I want to do. But if I can sell but continue to stay in the home, then that might be an option that I would entertain personally. Okay. And then of course, if nothing works out and eventually the home is sold at auction, then I would elicit help to recover any surplus funds from the auction. These are things that I would do personally if I was faced with losing my home at an auction. This is, again, not legal advice, just sharing my opinion. I would also make sure that I understand the consequences of bankruptcy, understand that as soon as I file that, if I have any credit cards, those are going to be frozen, not going to be able to use any credit cards. My credit score is going to be trashed. It may already be trashed because of the delinquent payments to the bank and the pending foreclosure. But that's one thing that I would certainly remember is if I file a bankruptcy, my credit score is going down the toilet. I have to remember that if I file bankruptcy, I'm probably not going to be able to refinance or get a loan of any kind for several years. And if I can get a loan, it's going to be very high interest and it's going to be very difficult to qualify for any loan. So I need to understand the consequences of that as well. Again, a bankruptcy or filing bankruptcy only buys me time, but it does not get rid of the foreclosure forever. If I wasn't sure what all bankruptcy entailed, I would do a little bit of research, make sure I understand what bankruptcy entails, what are some of the basics, and I would do a little bit of due diligence on that, maybe visit some sites that could give me some information about that. But again, that's what I would do if I was at risk of losing my home and I had no other option. Okay. Again, this is just my opinion. Take it for what it's worth. And that concludes this video.